If you saw my best movies of the year list, you know that Society of the Snow managed to make it on there. Today we're going to talk about why this film works so well. Let's do it. What's up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to the channel. In my first review of 2024, even though for me it was a 2023 movie, this is Society of the Snow, a devastating true story. In 1972, the flight of a rugby team crashes on a glacier in the Andes. The few passengers who survive the crash find themselves in one of the world's toughest environments to survive. This film is rated R. There's a bit of brief graphic nudity, violent and disturbing material. This is from J.A. Bayona, the director of movies like The Impossible and A Monster Calls. I am a massive fan of The Impossible, so that is a harrowing true story. This is a harrowing true story, so it feels like the perfect marriage. It also comes 30-ish years after a movie called Alive, which is the exact same story, but told in a drastically different way. I haven't seen that film, so I have no basis of this true story. I know of the events, but I didn't really know of the details. Now, I've seen survival movies before and non-true stories in similar settings, similar situations, but the fact that this actually happened makes it that much more impactful, and watching what I believe to be one of the best moments of 2023, 2024 for you, the crash sequence, which is everything you expect it to be and probably more. It's brutal, horrifying, graphic. The R rating really reigns true during this entire scene. So if you get squeamish, and knowing this is based on a true story, you may not want to watch this sequence. It is everything you expect it to be. But all of that being said, it's very powerful, man. I'm watching this going, wow, this is, I don't want to watch, but the filmmaking behind it is just so brilliant, and everything about it feels as realistic as this true story. And you see the horrifying situation that everyone who survives ends up in, and the decision-making behind what goes into the survival aspect of this movie is brutal. These characters, a lot of them who seem like good people, we get flashbacks, we get monologues all throughout the movie. It's a lot of voiceover, a lot of monologues. If you don't like that, you may be a little bored throughout, but you get an idea as to where they came from. So you understand that a lot of these people, they're good people, but they have to make decisions based around surviving this exact circumstance and situation. And the way that is delivered to the audience, it's showcased to us in such a beautifully tragic type of way. But like I said at the beginning of this movie, you get an idea as to the camaraderie between them. It's a rugby team, so there is a team element to a lot of their stories in the midst of this crazy thing happening. And that's put on display all throughout the movie. But like I said, flashbacks, memories, some beautiful things in there, and spending time, sometimes one-on-one, with these characters. Here's my thing about this movie. Not one character really stands out above the rest, even those we barely get to spend time with. But it's like a little peek into each individual sector of their lives as they are dealing with, in real time, survival and braving the elements of these Andes Mountains. And the way that's put on display, man, let's talk about the filmmaking, because the cinematography here is so beautiful, showing us the scope of this mountainous range. So you're like, oh yeah, it's so pretty. But at the same time, all of these characters trying to survive in the most intense and brutal way, it's such a contrast there. Beauty, but terror at the same time. And those two things coming together while watching this movie, it's pretty brilliant.
Gosh, I love movies.
And it never moves into that like Oscar baity, it's trying to be too artistic type of territory, which is fine sometimes. But for this story, I believe the way that Bayona decides to tell this is the right way to go about it. And you can feel the fact that hope is dissipating. Our characters are losing faith. And at one point, it just feels like all hope is lost, and there's nothing for our characters to say, hey, we can survive. We know we have to do this, this, and this, and someone's coming. At points in the film, you feel like no one's coming, and our characters, they are alone. Therefore, you have that same sinking feeling. It's not a happy movie. It's really emotional. My one thing is this. If you've seen this story, specifically the movies told prior, revolving around this true story before, it doesn't provide anything that you've never seen before. It tells it, I'm sure, in a drastically different way. Bayona's filmmaking style is very unique. I appreciate that, and I really like his style, so I responded to it. But again, I didn't know exactly how this true story was going to go specifically. You kind of know the end game here. But the journey for me was really impactful because I haven't seen the films prior. And so it worked for me, I believe, better than it will for those who have seen this told a couple of times. But also the familiarity in general. It is a true survival movie, a snowy setting, and we've seen fictional stories like that may be just as intense as this. So it's not like they can do anything really new here. You may feel some familiarity there, and it's also slow moving. It's not a really action-packed movie, barring a couple of scenes that are very action-packed and brutal, but the pacing is also slow. That being said, I believe it's necessary to tell this specific story and keep it as emotional as it is. Before I give you my score, what are you watching on Netflix today? And stay tuned because this weekend I'm talking the best Netflix shows of 2023 and what I'm looking forward to most. Maybe another review in there. This is a heartbreaking yet uplifting true story that is conveyed in an intensely gripping way. There are moments where viewers will feel every ounce of despair, and this grand setting of the Andes Mountains provides a stunning yet horrifying backdrop. This is genuinely one of my 20 best movies of last year. But for a lot of you all, you'll be seeing it today, which is 2024. So where does it rank this year? Just kidding. Where does it rank last year? Is it one of the better stories that you have seen? For me, I was on edge the entire time, but it's definitely a heartbreaking film. Thanks for dealing with my hoarse voice this entire video. I'm trying to feel better. See you soon.